Welcome back into Pigskin Perspectives. It may be week 12 of the college football season, which is hard to believe. There's only 2 regular season weekends left. It might be week 11 of the NFL season that has kicked off. But north of the border, it is Grey Cup weekend. Big weekend for football. Excited to preview all of it here on Pigskin Perspectives. I am your host, as always, Nick Burt. Packed show. Got a lot of games to cover. So let's just get into it. The 6-pack for the weekend. I got to be honest, for this being the second to last weekend of football, college football, regular season college football, I should say, slate kind of sucks. Not going to lie. Some bad games in here. It did get to a struggle for a little bit to try to find 6 games, but I think we found 6 really intriguing games here. So let's get it kicked off here. The 12 o'clock window, number 10 Louisville traveled down to Miami to Gardens to face off against the Hurricanes. If there was a better game in this Saturday, this game's 100% getting cut. It's just Louisville seem to be on fraud watch a lot. I think they are one of the most overrated 9-1 teams. I know that's weird to say. They just haven't played anybody. I feel like whenever they end up playing Florida State in the ACC title game, they're going to get exposed. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose this game. It's going to be on the road. It's not a tough environment given nobody goes to Miami games, which could be a factor in there. You're playing in front of a sleepy crowd. You play a little different, and just things get weird. And also, Miami, they aren't a great team, but they're not bad even though they aren't good. They could sneakily win this game. I know that the odds right now are like right on that even mark. So Vegas also thinks that Miami can keep this a game. For the number 10 team in the nation to be basically even, hey, who knows what's going to happen. So moving on, this game being on the Pac-12 network is an absolute monstrosity. It is number 22 Utah facing off against number 17 Arizona, an Arizona team that just seems very hot at the moment. Jed Fish is getting things figured out. I would say I'm excited to watch this game, but given that it's on the Pac-12 network, there's no guarantee that it's going to get watched. Utah, it's been a rough road for them. The loss at Washington last week. You had the loss at Oregon that was 3 weeks ago, I think. It's now starting to get to the point where another loss and they're going to fall out of the rankings. Even though they're a really good team, it's just this Arizona team might be too much to handle, especially since it's in Tucson. I really do think Arizona end up getting the win here and continuing this winning streak that they have going. They look like a really good team right now. I think they still have an outside shot of making the Pac-12 title, if all chaos ensues. But they're still a really good team. I think there's a lot to look forward to with the Wildcats in future years, especially given they're going to the Big 12, which if they were in the Pac-12, it's a better chance of them winning that. But I still think the Big 12 will be wide open. The number 1 team in America, that is the Georgia Bulldogs, they travel up to Knoxville to face off against the Tennessee Volunteers. And you don't want to get caught looking ahead to Atlanta in 2 weeks' time. At 2 weeks' time. I think the math there is actually correct. I gave out some bad math last week. Where they'll be, they got Atlanta back-to-back weeks. They have Georgia Tech next week. They have Alabama the week after. You can't be caught looking ahead to either one, even though I doubt they're looking ahead to Georgia Tech. Even though you got the SEC East clinched, you got your spot in Atlanta clinched, you just can't be looking ahead in this one. I know Tennessee isn't good. They're coming off that blow-off loss to Missouri. With this being in Knoxville, you never know what can happen. I don't expect anything to happen. I expect Georgia to control this game. But I'm just saying, if there is a team that can spoil this, I think it's going to be Tennessee. At 7 o'clock, it is the Sunflower Showdown in Lawrence, Kansas, as the number 21 Kansas State Wildcats face off against the number 25 Kansas Jayhawks. This should be an entertaining game. I know Kansas, they've been good and then haven't been good. They're a above mediocre team, I'll say that. They like to go back and forth on if they're really good or not. Obviously, we saw that win against Texas or against Oklahoma. We saw the loss against Texas Tech. This is a game I'd expect them to win, but Kansas State, they're looking to get back to Arlington, I should say, for that Big 12 title game in 2 weeks. They'd have to win out, and I think their spot is clinched to them. There might be other factors that have to play in there for them to actually make it to Arlington, but they're still very much alive, and a loss in this game basically ends that. So, although I expect the Jayhawks to get a win here because it's at home, I would not be surprised at all if the Wildcats get it done in this one. Moving on to what is the biggest game of the weekend. It's a game that's going to have playoff implications, whether you know it or not. It's going to have Pac-12 implications. It's going to have a lot of implications. And that is number 5 Washington going south to Corvallis to face off against the number 11th ranked Oregon State Beavers. Obviously, everything that's going on with the Pac-12 with Oregon State seemingly kind of on a revenge tour-ish, given that they have a home, but they don't have a home for next year. They've been left behind. I think that's the best way to put it. They've been left behind. This is going to be a test for the Huskies. I keep saying week after week, they're escaping games. It's going to catch up to them eventually. They're going into a hostile environment that is Corvallis Research Stadium. The weather's going to be awful. Most likely won't be able to get bailed out by a Michael Penix 60-yard bomb to the end zone. This might be the one where Washington's season comes crashing down. It is, I don't know. The Huskies opened up as I think 2-point favorite on Sunday. The line has moved to 3.5 favorite for the Beavers of Oregon State. I personally don't like that. That shows there's way too much line movement in this game. It usually means the public is very much on Oregon State. I checked the numbers. The public's actually on Washington in this game, which makes me question this even more. I don't want to fall for the hype because I do think I'm going to fall for it and then Washington wins by 30. But this really does feel like the game where everything catches up with Washington finally. They take their first loss, and the Beavers still would have an outside shot at the Pac-12 title. They'd have to beat Oregon the week after, which is a task amongst itself. And they would then hold a tiebreaker over Washington that I don't think ends up getting used unless Washington loses back-to-back or something like that. I don't even know if it gets used in that scenario. Because I think no matter what, Oregon State has to win out to make the Pac-12 title game, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. I can see them picking up one of these games. I don't think they win them both. That's all I can say about that. And then finally, at 8 o'clock on Fox, it is the number 7 Texas Longhorns facing off against the Iowa State Cyclones in Ames, Iowa. It's on here because I think there's a potential upset alert here. Texas going up to Ames. It's a night game. Things get spooky in Ames. Iowa State kind of been a boogie team for a lot of Big 12 teams the past few years. They're good. They aren't at the levels that they were a few years ago during that COVID year. I do really think Texas is on an upset alert here, but I just can't go against them because I think that if I back the Cyclones, they're going to get blown out. So I'm going to pick Texas here, just given that. But I think Texas is very much on upset alert this weekend. So given that, that is the 6-pack for this weekend. Like I said, it was a little bit of a struggle at some points to try to figure out a few games here and there. The slate, not great, but it's not terrible. But we move on. We move on to the NFL. A packed slate capped off with a Monday night game for the ages. Absolutely beautiful theater there will be there. We'll get to that. But we start off with this Thursday night game, which is happening right now as I record. It is the Cincinnati Bengals facing off against the Baltimore Ravens, an AFC North battle. This hasn't been the greatest of games so far for both quarterbacks. They've kind of looked both iffy. Not great, not terrible. Lamar Jackson went down with injury, came back. Mark Andrews down with injury. I don't think he's come back yet. Given it's at home for Baltimore, I still expect the Ravens to walk away with this one. Joe Burrow he looks good, not great. The loss last week to Houston, I think, doesn't help here. If the Bengals were on a roll, they had a win last week, I'd probably back them in this one. But the Ravens also coming off a loss, but just given that home field advantage, I'm going to take the Ravens in this one, even though the game's currently going on. We move on to Sunday, where we have another AFC North battle, the other two teams, as it's the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Cleveland to face off against Dorian Thompson-Robinson's Cleveland Browns. Obviously, the Deshaun Watson shoulder injury that's now season-ending has happened. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is the starter. Don't know why, but hey, I really don't know what to expect in this one. Like I said last week, this isn't a game the Browns win, blah, blah, blah. The Browns are winning this game, blah, blah, blah. I don't have the same feeling about this. The Steelers have like a dark voodoo magic on this team right now that just they somehow find wins. I don't know what they did to find this, voodoo that they've got on themselves right now to win games. Given it's in Cleveland, I do think the Browns somehow pull it off in this one, but I feel like all the cards are stacked against the Browns right now. Even though they have one of the best defenses in the NFL, I feel like Kenny Pickett is going to figure something out. Black magic. Steelers win 12-10 or something like that. We move on to an NFC North battle. It is the Chicago Bears facing off against the Detroit Lions. Justin Fields is back. It's not going to help. I think the Lions roll in this one. They've shown that they can roll in games against teams that are under 500. I think that one's pretty simple there. I think this game is intriguing because it is the Los Angeles Chargers against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers aren't good. The Los Angeles Chargers are poorly coached. So this is truly a stoppable force meeting a movable object. I really don't know who to pick in this one. I'm going to lean the Chargers just because I think the Packers are the worst team here. On paper, they're the worst team. But you can't count out Brandon Staley doing something dumb and the Packers walking away with victory in this one. I really don't know what to expect here, but I guess a Chargers victory is my prediction. The 2-0 since firing Josh McDaniels Las Vegas Raiders, they face off against the Miami Dolphins, a team that just thrives on beating teams under 500. In Miami, I'm going to take the Dolphins here. It's just they're the better team. They play much better when they're facing worse teams, which is what the Raiders are. So just give me the Dolphins in this one. In a game that's going to be super ugly, it is the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders at FedEx Field. I don't even know. Is Tommy DeVito starting? I think so. I don't know what other QB options they have. So I guess give me the Commanders because the Giants are just that terrible. The Panthers are facing off against the Cowboys. The Panthers are bad. They're awful. Give me the Cowboys in this one. AFC South battle, I think it's going to get a little interesting in the AFC South. It is the Titans and the Jaguars. The Titans coming off that terrible loss last week. The Jaguars coming off a terrible loss last week. I really don't know where to lean in this one. I mean, the Titans didn't show anything last week. And the Jaguars are good at least, which leads me to pick the Jaguars. I'm not confident in it, but I'll still pick them. Another team in the AFC South that they're starting to creep up on the Jaguars, and that is the Houston Texans. They are getting prepared to face off against the Arizona Cardinals. I'm expecting the Texans to win this one. Even though the Cardinals got a win last week with Kyler Murray back, the Texans are just the better team here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers travel to San Francisco to face off against the San Francisco 49ers, a 49ers team. Actually, they're not traveling to San Francisco. They're traveling to Santa Clara. Sorry. They're traveling to Santa Clara to face off against the 49ers. It's a 49ers team to seem to have got their mojo back after that dominating win against the Jaguars last week, which leads me to believe that the 49ers win this game. The Jets and the Bills preparing to face off on Sunday, the 4:25 window. So you're getting that. It's a technical prime time type slot. You got most of America watching, unless you're in Seattle or LA. Then you got the other prime time-ish game. The Jets, their defense is really good. Their offense is anemic. Give me the Bills in this one, even though the Bills also don't look good at all. I don't know what's going on in Buffalo. I do, but still. Give me the Bills in this one, a bounce-back game. The Seahawks and the Rams in NFC West battle. The Seahawks, I feel like kind of need this game before things start going a little bit haywire. I know they got the win last week. They didn't look great against the Commanders, which leads me to believe they need this game even more now. I expect them to get this game. The Rams are good. I don't think they're a threat for a playoff win contention, any of that. I mean, they can still win the NFC West. Technically, I don't expect them to. They can technically get a wild card too, but I don't expect them to. I expect the Seahawks to win this one. Sunday Night Football, it is the Vikings. It is the Broncos. Josh Dobbs going for a third straight victory as a Minnesota Viking in 3 starts. Going up against a Broncos team that looks a little bit rejuvenated, kind of figuring things out finally. I think this might be a sneakily entertaining game. I guess give me the Vikings. I think Justin Jefferson's back this week. I just think they figure it out in the Mile High City. And then finally, on Monday night, it's the Super Bowl rematch I think everybody's been waiting for. It's the 8-1 Eagles against the 8-1 Chiefs at Arrowhead. This game is going to be spectacular, hopefully. We should say that because this could end up being a blowout and then we're all left disappointed. I like this game. I'm really intrigued to see what happens. This Eagles team seems unstoppable right now, kind of. I know they lost to the Jets, but they kind of seem unstoppable. The Chiefs, I'm not so sure about. They're really good. I mean, we'll leave it at that. They're really good. It's at Arrowhead. Give me the Chiefs. The byes this week are the Falcons, the Saints, the Colts, and the Patriots. The Patriots team that desperately needed that bye. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it is Grey Cup weekend up in Canada. I couldn't let this show go by without mentioning one of my favorite leagues in the world, the CFL. We previewed the East and West final last week. It's time to preview the Grey Cup. It is the Montreal Alouettes facing off against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Montreal going for their first Grey Cup since 2010, which I also believe was the last time they were in the Grey Cup. Going up against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have been in this game now 4 straight years. They've won 3 out of the last 4. They won 2019, 2021, or they're looking to win 3 out of the last 4, I should say, because they won 2019, they won 2021. They lost 2022 against the Argonauts last year. And now we are here. We've reached the end of the CFL season. The Blue Bombers are I believe, 8.5 point favorite in this one, as they should be, I should say. They are the better team here. These, obviously, with the CFL being 9 teams and you play 18 games, you play teams twice, basically. I believe the Blue Bombers they've won both games. I know that. I think they've outscored the Alouettes like 52-17 or something like that. The key to this game is preventing turnovers on the Blue Bombers side of the ball. If they can prevent turnovers, they're going to win this game easily. If Montreal forces turnovers and they can capitalize on those, they have a shot in this game. It's not a good shot, but that's what got them here. All those turnovers by Toronto last week, Montreal capitalized on all of them. They're now in the Grey Cup. As you can see, the Rough Riders jersey, Rough Riders owner, that is me. It pains me to say it. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are winning this Grey Cup. I'm not expecting anything less. If the Alouettes can win, I will be dancing in the streets. Obviously, Jason Moss, the Rough Riders offensive coordinator, that was run out of town last year because they thought he was the problem. He never was. And then Cody Fajardo, the Montreal quarterback, who was the Rough Riders quarterback last year, that got chased out of town because they thought he was the problem. He was not. He was part of it. I digress. Like I said, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are winning this Grey Cup. Brady Oliveira, I'm expecting to have a very good game. Their running back, Zach Collaros, the quarterback for Winnipeg, I'm expecting him to have a stellar game like he has against this team both times this season. I hope Montreal wins this, obviously. I don't see it happening. I think Mike O'Shea has really figured out how to get this Winnipeg team to its highest in moments like these, and I expect him to get the victory here. So given that, that is going to be it for this week's edition of the Pigskin Perspectives preview. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Obviously, we added a little bit in there today, given, we added CFL. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Come back on Tuesday. We'll recap all of it, including the Grey Cup. Hopefully we have a lot to talk about. It would be quite exciting if we have exciting things to talk about, of course. So thank you so much for watching. If you stumble across this video, hit like, hit subscribe, tell anybody you know about it, and we will see you back here on Tuesday for another episode of Pigskin Perspectives.